Next up, we have China Dongsheng International Inc., OTC Pink, CDSG, soon to be Titan International, and its CEO, Craig Alford. Hey, Craig.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Craig Alford. I'm with CDSG. We'll soon to be actually Titan Lithium Inc. So a little bit of a better name for ourselves going forward. Just a little bit about myself first. I'm a professional geologist. I've been working pretty much everywhere in the world. I've worked in over 30 countries over the last 37 years. And quite frankly, I would say there's never been a better time for lithium. It's almost equivalent to a Wartime Measures Act, what's going on with governments around the world. Governments of, say, US, Canada, Mexico, UK, Germany formed a pact last year for critical battery metals. So this is a very timely and good opportunity for investors to get into battery metals going forward. I'll just go through a presentation with you guys, and we'll talk about the central prospect that we've been working on, which is, I think, the most exciting lithium project going, and it'll be a pleasure to introduce it to you. So I'm just looking at the first slide right now. Ryan, is that on?
Yes, the slides are on, and it's content only.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so just a caution on, sorry, not a caution, but the first picture there you see on your left, that's actually a photo from the West End lithium claims in just off of Tonopah, Nevada. So it's actually a picture from our site merging into electric vehicle. I had mentioned there's a big movement, market movement, political movement, environmental movement towards green energy. Obviously, the electric vehicles are a major part of that, as well as storage of green energy. If you're running windmills, if you're running solar, it's an awesome opportunity to create, at some point during the power structure, a battery storage area, because usages of power vary and develop sort of production of power varies as well. Within the US, as I mentioned, they've earmarked $3 billion for boosting the US supply of lithium and other critical battery metals. This is very important because right now, as it stands, we typically produce lithium in just a concentrate form that gets shipped over to the East, China, Korea, Japan, and that gets turned into the better form, a more valuable form with a large value upgrade by a factor of 10 to lithium carbonate, lithium hydroxide, battery-ready materials for EVs. As I mentioned, the United States, Australia, France, Germany, Japan, UK, all signed a pact, recognizing that we have to secure our own supply for the EV revolution that's going to be happening in Europe, North America, etc. The US have been giving out pretty large sums of money. They gave out $700 million loan with an additional $300 million line of credit to the Australian mining company Ioneer. That was for a project called Rhyolite Ridge in Nevada. And you'll see how Rhyolite Ridge stands against what we've been working on. The Canadian government here, I'm currently in Toronto at the world's largest mining convention, and lithium is a big topic of investment and exploration. And the Canadian government is fully behind and seeks to greenlight a lot of the projects that are ongoing here to help them get into production. General Motors recently invested $650 million into the company Lithium Americas to help it develop the Thacker Pass lithium mine in northern Nevada. So this is a really amazing time. There's other stories, obviously, and you'll see how we can hopefully, improve upon the lithium supply overall going forward, as there's going to be a demand that'll outstrip production. This chart here, probably many of you have seen a chart similar to this, as a lot of analysts predict that production from mines can barely keep up if the electrical vehicle market does expand as it's predicted to. Market penetration within countries like Germany, China has been over 20% for new electric vehicle sales. However, it's lagging behind here. I think the market penetration may be only around 3%, but it's growing. I'm seeing more electric vehicles each time I drive around. And quite frankly, a lot of people are annoyed with the fluctuations in the price of gas over the last 3-4 years. And we've still got more pain to come as that moves forward. So knowing that these projects, whether they're early or advanced, they're in demand, everyone's looking for good, viable lithium projects. And we believe we have an incredible opportunity for everyone. The area that we're looking at is the northeast section of Africa with respect to the country of Tanzania. As you see here on the left-hand side, I've just drawn kind of like a cartoon picture of how the East African Rift is opening up with what's called the Horn of Africa. It's separating away from the main African plate. That's been ongoing for millions of years. But during those millions of years, you've had what's called continental volcanism, a lot of volcanoes, chain of volcanoes all along that rift valley. And for the most part, this type of volcanism creates a lot of light elements. It's a continental style volcanism. If people remember Mount St. Helens, there was a big ash cloud, not a big lava flow. So that's the type of volcanic eruptions that occur in those. That ash tends to have light elements, including lithium. The mountain that is known as Mount Kilimanjaro, I'm sure everyone's heard of it. It's the tallest mountain in Africa and one of the largest freestanding mountains in the world. It's a stratovolcano. It's has been belching out gas and mud flows over the last several million years. It essentially stopped erupting about 360,000 years ago. However, seen from above now on Google Earth, you can see that there's a sort of a tongue of a flow going down to the southeast from Mount Kilimanjaro. Now, I suspected, just looking when I was, prospecting and using Google Earth to find interesting locations, that this was what's called a lahar flow, which is a mud flow mixed with ash. And the valley that occurs in the southern portion of that lahar flow would be a good collector for the erosion and leaching of any interesting metals from that stratovolcano lahar flow. And lo and behold, on the next slide, 2 prospecting lines, which we have announced the results for just about 3 news releases ago, were driven across the plains here. So this is a very large, flat, open plain, very similar in character to what we find in Nevada, and similar in some ways to what we find in Chile and Argentina. There they are called salars, we call them playas. So this is essentially a large, huge playa, and that line there was the first line put in, and the second line put in was the one slightly to the east of it. The distances here are rather great. Over on the right-hand side, you can see this yellow line is 22 kilometers long. So for the imperial system, that's around 16 miles, I believe. Maybe somebody could correct me later. However, that's very big. I mean, in comparison to a lot of the playas that I've sampled in Nevada, this is double the size. This is a huge one. And those initial lines returned very exciting lithium results. So this is simply lithium in soil of 600 are the low samples to up to 13,000 ppm lithium. So if people are familiar with gold, they often report gold in ounces per ton or grams per ton. If you take a look at gold at gram per ton, it's the same as ppm. And when you have 10,000 ppm, that's equivalent to 1%. So this is actually 1.3% lithium on surface. And as you'll see that relatively north-south line, it ended, both lines ended in very high-grade material. So subsequently to that, we've put in extensions to the north that was driven forward another 2.5 miles, thinking that we were closing off the anomaly. However, when the results came in, I just put that out, I believe yesterday, the results of the line, this line, it was all high-grade lithium, and yet again ending in a high grade. So we haven't figured out where this anomaly yet ends. So I mentioned that it's comparable to some places in Argentina, Chile. So here we're looking from above at a target of very similar size, not necessarily similar in grade. This yellow line here is 17 kilometers long. And that same yellow line is here. And this is the Salar de Olaroz in Argentina. I used to work up here in Northwest Argentina. I've visited most of the salars. And this is owned by Alchem. If anyone wants to take a look, they have about a $5 billion market cap. This project here has a grade of 690 ppm lithium and a total resource of 6.4 million tons LCE. This term LCE stands for lithium carbonate equivalent. And this is a brine deposit where they pump the brine into settling ponds, and you can see that. This is, again, a Google Earth image. Alchem owns 65% of this mine, and it is their main producing mine. They don't have another one. And that has generated a huge market cap for them. So just to give you sort of how valuable these things are, a mental note. Okay, so really comparing now apples versus apples, we believe we have a mudstone clay hosted sequence in the valley, and that we've only so to date sampled the alluvium cover, the soil samples. But this kind of gives you an indication of size in comparison at the same scale to Thacker Pass, owned by Lithium Americas in Nevada, and the TLC project owned by American Lithium in Nevada as well, just outside Tonopah. This little E-looking area, I'm not quite sure if you see my mouse, but just west of that blue blob, there's a kind of a gray E. That actually belongs to CDSG as well. We have claims directly within their resource outline. So that's an exciting little claim all by itself, having a piece of what is currently the largest lithium resource. There has been another one that has come out recently by American Battery Metals. However, that's in a much more inferred category currently and needs to be proven up. The resource at Thacker Pass has a grade of 2,900 ppm lithium. So this is now, like I was saying, apples versus apples. We've got all three, hopefully, deposits here we're talking about. The Titan Lithium 1, Thacker Pass, TLC, are all this mudstone, claystone hosted type. And the grades that we're looking at for Thacker Pass average 2,900. The grades for the TLC project average between 800 and 700 ppm. And to date, the grades for the Titan Lithium project are actually almost double Lithium Americas. We are getting averaging between 3,000 and 6,000 on average for the project so far. There is a second large project as well we've been looking at. We haven't done as much work yet as Titan 1. However, the first prospecting line that was within the southwest region of this big dry lake bed. So this dry lake bed, by the way, probably served as a collector for an extremely large region to the north, east, and west. This is, again, south of Mount Kilimanjaro. So a lot of ash flows, mud flows would have landed here. And over the last 2 million years or so, things have leached down into this kind of collective basin. Right now, as I mentioned, we did put out the news release for the initial line that was almost a mile long. It was about 0.8 miles long, and it averaged, I believe, around 3,000 ppm lithium over the line. But it ended, the eastern portion of the line ended in 9,000 ppm lithium. So extremely robust values coming from this target. So we have returned here. I just came back from Tanzania just a little while ago. We went back to this target and we put in a grid over a much larger portion of the project, and those assay results are pending. So we're waiting on those. And as you can see here, again, it favorably compares in size to both Thacker Pass and the TLC project, just to put it into perspective of what people have been finding in Nevada. This is also a very interesting target with very high-grade lithium. Okay, so now, as I pointed out, that we have released some results for the line extensions that we put in. These yellow pins that you see here are still assays pending. We still have quite a bit of results that we're waiting from the lab. But I've gone ahead anyway, because I'm so bloody excited about this thing, and sort of put in a little bit of blocks that be considered to be, in my mind anyway, the main exploration targets going forward. I kind of like this northern block area so far. It's averaging very high grade. Here you can see block 1. It's approximately 8.7 square kilometers. I'm just going to have to be excused for using metric system, but it's a lot easier when you do tonnage calculation times grade to end up with the millions tons. It's just a lot easier to use the metric system. It averages 5,250 parts per million lithium. And sometimes you see lithium given in lithium oxide numbers, and that 5,000 is equivalent to 1.13%. Lithium oxide. So that's an incredible number, by the way. This is almost the grade of pegmatites in this region. And if this goes to some depth, then we have an extremely high grade and important deposit, possibly the most important deposit in the world. Looking at the other blocks, I've calculated them. I've used their average grades. Block 2, 5,000. Block 3, a little bit less, but still very interesting, of 2,600. So that's very much like, say, Thacker Pass. And the block 4, a large block of 9.6 kilometers, grading, again, 5,500. So you can see here, we're constantly getting high grades. These are large blocks. And they total 27 square kilometers. And I've done what's called a weighted average for the 4 blocks of 4,600 lithium. So that's actually 1% lithium oxide. Again, a very strong number. And now this is the only assumption, real assumption that I'm making, is a depth of around 20 meters. Now, interestingly, I was planning on doing some seismic studies across this basin to find out how deep it is. However, I just found a paper and there were 6 seismic lines done across the basin. So that'll be very exciting going forward. We'll see how deep it is. I believe another paper talked about well over 1,600 feet. So quite a bit deeper than 20 meters. So we're being very conservative here. So now we're, again, looking at apples versus apples. And we're looking at the mudstone claystone hosted deposits that are the biggest reported in the world right now. And we have several from Nevada and one from Mexico. So looking at these, we have the American Battery Tech Company. This was really recently put out. I think it was last week. They're claiming they have 15.8 million tons LCE. However, if you want to look, the grade is a little low. And right now, they're going to need a lot more drilling to establish this as a real category. Currently, it's called inferred. They're going to have to move that towards, say, measured and indicated. Normally, we work on what's called 43101 standards. However, that's not necessary within the United States. American Lithium, which is a Canadian company, sorry, excuse me, it does work in 43101 standards. And you can see here, that's the TLC project we talked about earlier, which averages in total 790 ppm lithium and is what I consider to be the largest deposit currently within the United States of 10.6 million tons LCE. Then we have Bacanora in northwestern Mexico, which was bought by a Chinese company. We have the Thacker Pass deposit of Lithium Americas, and we have a claystone hosted within the Clayton Valley. It's in hectorite clays. And then we have the Rhyolite Ridge project of Ioneer. I mentioned that earlier, having received $700 million loan from the US government with a $300 million extension. So really $1 billion loan to get into production. The last column here, the contained LCE, really is what you could look at. And the Titan 1 project, as I calculated earlier here by using this block model method, came to 23.5 million tons LCE. It's truly shoulders above everyone else. And as well, if we look at the grade, lithium in parts per million, the grades of Titan 1 and 2 really stand out here. So this is an extremely exciting prospect. I can't say it any other way. I've also compared them against hard rock deposits. Those are the pegmatite types, which tend to grade the highest grades. Normally you have high-grade pegmatites, sort of mid-grade claystones, and then lower-grade brines. Those are the three main types of lithium deposits worldwide. So in comparison, let's just look at the top one. The top one's utterly fantastic deposit in southwestern Australia. It is owned almost 50-50 by Albemarle, a massive company with over a $30 billion market cap, and Tianqi out of China. They co-own the deposit, which has a total contained LCE value of 7.1 million tons. Looking at Titan 1, we have grades of 1% lithium oxide, which are, like I said before, comparable to these pegmatite type deposits. And again, we have a massive resource potential here. Quickly, just to note the stock price, hopefully people are interested in investing in lithium. I think it's just at the start of its story. We've got a decade ahead of very good growth for lithium and for other battery metals like cobalt, even copper. And our market cap is low. So if people are interested in lithium and in investing in lithium, it's kind of sometimes a little hard to do it when the company's already valued at $900 million. You're wondering if it's got nowhere to go but down. So I'm thinking that we've got really good, exceptional growth potential ahead of us. So thank you for paying attention to that, and I'll take any questions.
Okay, we do have a few questions. Let's see. Okay, first question. Among all the known lithium resources in the world, where does the Titan 1 and 2 discovery in Tanzania rank among the top claims?
Well, it currently ranks number one. I mean, We should caution, however, that this is not yet, we haven't quite completed the work to put this into a resource category, but we will be doing that. We plan to first identify the extent of the anomaly, which we haven't quantified that yet, where it stops. It keeps growing as we've been in sampling. So it ranks number 1.
That's good. All right, next question. What's a conservative estimate in total dollar lithium spot value for the resource within this new discovery?
Okay, this is the jaw-dropping part, is that the current spot price for lithium carbonate, which by the way has been dropping, but it's still well above the estimates that most people use for their economic assessments. For instance, Thacker Pass, TLC, they both use around $20,000 per ton, and the spot price currently is around $53,000 a ton. It did at one point a couple of months ago reach $88,000 per ton. But even if you just say, okay, let's take a look at the spot price, let's call it $50,000 a ton, and you multiply it by the 20 million potential tons we have here, that's over $1 trillion. So this is a truly exceptional world-class deposit.
Yeah. All right. I've been following Beryl Energy and the CDSG Titan Lithium partnership there. In relation to that, would the claystone extraction technology mentioned in recent press news releases be applicable to Titan 1 and 2? Can you elaborate on the Beryl Energy extraction tech as it relates?
Sure, exactly. People might know and have seen my name on this company, as well as Beryl Energy, which we've essentially kind of put a wall between the two, saying, okay, Beryl is the technology side, and CDSG is the exploration project side. And we've got a very interesting deal that it's got an NDA in it. So I just want to say I can't disclose too much about it. However, it is for extraction of lithium from hard rock sources like pegmatites, as well as extraction from mudstone claystone deposits. And the methodology has now gained to be the sort of the top one in the world. I mean, most people, when they're looking at their preliminary economic assessments, they do leaching, the recovery of lithium from such, they're often exceptional, over 90% recovery. However, the methodology we're employing here on the Beryl side, it gets up to 100% recovery. And the scientists involved with that are now tweaking it to basically be one of the lowest energy cost per ton production methods. So it's going to be hopefully a very good methodology that dovetails very nicely with what we're doing here in Tanzania. The chief scientist that I'm sort of alluding to here, without giving away anything, he's really excited about what we've shown him to date for Titan Lithium, and he wants to get over there and get some samples for his analytical work. So yes, right. there is good, work we can do here between the two companies.
Nice. All right. Charles Sutera asks, when do you think the name change will take place to Titan Lithium?
We've already applied for the name change. The old name is a little bit of an anchor around our neck right now. It's not a great name. It kind of alludes to China being involved in this. We're not a Chinese company. We're an American company. We're US based. So we're hoping that within 2 months, this will all be wrapped up. The name change, the ticker change, everything.
Great. All right. We have a lot more questions, but we're running out of time. So any closing final thoughts?
Hopefully I have addressed a lot. Sometimes a lot of people ask, when can this go into production? Well, we're going to go as fast as we can here. However, if you take a look at, for instance, say the Thacker Pass project, they did about 355 drill holes or more. So we do intend to drill. However, I think this is what's called a tabular style deposit. So in saying that, we can cut a little bit of corners. I mean, if you constantly have the same widths encountered, usually you're allowed to space your drill holes a little bit further apart from each other. So we can hopefully build this into a world-class resource within the coming 24 months going forward. So I think our market cap should reflect that as the months go by. We're going to have a good news flow from this. We've been back to the site 4 times. We've done further sampling. The crews just returned tonight, and I'll get back out there myself, and we'll get this project, more eyes on this project. This is an incredible area.
Sounds good. All right, so we're going to send you the rest of these questions so you can get back to them individually. And
Okay.
Thanks for coming on the conference. Good luck.
All right. It's a great opportunity to talk to everyone. Okay, thank you.
All right. Stand by, everyone. We'll be back in a few minutes.